I figured out the camera situation, so now I'm not blurry anymore. Yay! Improvement of this week. Hopefully the audio comes out okay. We'll find out in post production, but camera is looking a lot better than last week's, so we're good. Hi! Welcome to Kels in the Walls. I'm in your walls. I'm in my walls. I'm in everybody's walls. Who else walls am I in? Whoever's walls that you know, I'm in them. Okay, so expect me to be in them. Already we can tell that the camera this week is a lot better. So that's great. I finally figured out everything situated. Hopefully the audio this week is also better as well. I really do hope so because it is right now 12:59. I don't know if you guys can see it. No, you can't see it, okay? If the audio is as I am not re-recording because yeah, no, absolutely not. But oh my god, jeez, goodness gracious. But I'm so happy to be sitting here again with way better camera situation than the first video. Obviously we're gonna have little improvement here and there as we go. I should be doing this week's weekly Amazon affiliate, but I'm a little busy this week. Not a little, I'm a lot busy this week. So I'm just gonna use last week's affiliate, which is the flushable wipes, and I'm gonna still link it in the description below. Get it if you want clean asses. If you don't want clean asses, that is on you. That's not something that I have control over. So anyway, so we'll just go ahead and start right in this week's article. Would it be an article? It's from the creepypasta.fandom.com. It's called, I'm gonna butcher this, Imperial and Vectives collection of short stories. There are a total of 27 stories in here. I don't know how many I'm gonna get to this one sitting, one video. I might just have to split into two parts. But if halfway through I'm feeling the vibes, I'll continue because it is 1 a.m. and I have a lot of stuff to do this week. So I'm trying to get this filming over with and then doing my stuff. We'll see what happens. If not, then it'll just be split into two parts, and I think that's fine. Yeah, I have not looked at the stories as always. I want it to be like a first reaction kind of thing with you guys. So again, this channel is about reading and reacting. I think that's what I'm gonna categorize my content now. Let's get into it. All right, first story is called I Don't Know What Was Scarier. After a long day of work, there was nothing that I wanted more than a nice, relaxing shower. Same. Under the rivulets of water, I felt the stress and tension wash off me. I stepped out of the shower, silently cursing that it was laundry day and I had no clean towels to dry off with. It really wasn't a big deal. I would drip dry and make sure that I took everything to the laundry the next day. I walked around the bedroom, letting the cool night air circulate over my body, which caused my skin to prickle. It was cold outside, but I expected the house should have been a little warmer. I would have to call utilities and see if there might be a problem with my heating. I didn't want to sit on anything for fear of soaking it, so I decided I would lay out my clothes for the next day. I stepped into my closet and pulled the cord to turn on the light bulb that hung from the ceiling. There was a brief flash before something was illuminated that I had not prepared for. A man. In one fist, he clenched an old-fashioned straight razor. In his other hand was a roll of electrical tape and a bag of salt. There was a twisted smile plastered across his face that made his intentions very clear. I wanted to scream, but fear paralyzed my throat. I don't know what was scarier, the realization that I was in this situation stark naked, or the fact that he was too. If you guys haven't noticed, I am currently in the closet. Yeah, all of these around are my clothes. And this person just found a man naked in their closet with a razor and some tape. Good thing my closet is very small. So if there's a man in my closet, you guys would see it. And you guys would let me know, right? Okay. We starting off strong because yeah, that was something. Second story. Pillow talk. I loved how my wife used to wake me up by whispering sweet nothings into my ear every morning. I didn't enjoy her pillow talk as much the day after her funeral. So, oh, this is like a two-sentence horror story, which is nice. Like I used to read a whole bunch of those. I think I'm gonna do like a video just just have two-sentence horror stories because I think they hit really well, like the one that are actually really well written. But but honest opinion, if the love of my life passed away and I'm used to hearing them talk to me every night and they passed away, and now that I like hearing them again, I think that would be really nice. To be honest, I think that would be for like a couple of months, right? Because I'm still grieving. So that really nice. But after that, I might have to call a priest, a monk, a psychic, somebody to cleanse the house because I'm not I'm not dealing with that. Not dealing with that at all. Next story. Intervention. To tell you the truth, I needed to drink. I would have a hard day at work and I would go to the bar and let the alcohol wash away my thoughts. It was cathartic. Cathartic? It was awesome. Hard. Cat- it was cathartic. My daughter, wife, and friends would always lay it into me when I got home for stinking of alcohol. They would bitch at me, saying that I just wasn't the person they thought I was when I went out drinking and I could be such a better person. They would always be lying in wait for me when I got home. I would walk through the door and find a group of my family and friends waiting for me. They would always ambush me with prepared letters about how my drinking made them feel, which of course was always bullshit, as they didn't give me an appropriate time to form my own argument to theirs. There wasn't much I could do under their relentless assault. I'd always let them cry and rage against me. Afterwards, I would tell them I would change and find the strength to quit. A few weeks later, I would drown a fifth of Jack Daniels and wash away my thoughts, and the process would continue again. They would organize another meeting, and I would keep making empty promises because I knew it was better than the alternative. When I was sober, I would keep imagining them on hooks, pleading and begging for sweet release. I would imagine their flesh and how it would be so appealing to slice open, tear apart. They want me to quit drinking, but without it, I keep imagining the end. I would imagine how they would plead and how they would taste. I think this last intervention really stuck. I feel like myself again. Drinking is, I'm not judging anybody. If you have to drink, then you have to drink. Me personally, I used to drink a lot. Low key, I still do now, right? But I hate the taste of alcohol. So I'm glad to say that I'm not an alcoholic anymore. I only drink coconut water now and water when I work out or anything that's preferably not water. So I want to, well, it's implying that this person like killed his family and friends because he was drinking too much? Or is this implying that he has that kind of imagination and without it he would start going crazy, right? So basically alcohol is like a medicine to him. It keeps him calm. Okay. Like, yeah, fine. I didn't really feel that one, but we're moving on, right? Next story. Family. John always loved having his family over, but now as he watched them pawing at his back door, leaving bloody and putrescent stains, he realized that he didn't like it so much anymore. Another two-sentence horror story. I'm seeing a pattern here with this is that, okay, maybe I'm able to finish all 27 stories since half of them are two sentences. Here's a question for you all. If your family members that you love so much turn to zombie or a ghost or whatever and they're visiting you, or like in this case pawing at your back door, are you letting them in? Me personally, right? I would be asleep, and even if I'm not asleep I would be blasting music so I wouldn't hear them pawing at my back door anyways. So so they would have to try again many nights until I notice, because at night it's like my time. I do whatever I want, and I often don't really care about what's happening outside my room at night. So yeah. Hmm. Next story. We'll meet again. The entire crew gathered around the window. This time it wasn't to stare into the infinite blackness of space or ponder the nature of their exploration. They weren't looking out, but instead they were looking down. Down at mankind finally reaping what they had sown. Detonations that were visible from space dotted the earth. The explosions stretched up as if to ensnare heaven itself. The massive mushroom clouds started off in small numbers, but quickly grew as more countries attempted to make their contribution towards the ultimate demise. Soon the entire world was pockmarked with massive radioactive mushroom clouds. A few hours later, there was nothing and no one left. The astronauts could only watch in a dumbfounded mix of terror and shock as their homes were lost to fallout and scorched earth policies brought into actions decades ago. There was no one else. It was only them now. Music sliced through the tension and terror. Vera Lynn crooned, "Keep smiling through, just like you always do." All it took was one man to start laughing before the entire crew dissolved. Some laughed until their stomachs wrapped themselves into knots. Some laughed until tears welled up in their eyes. Some laughed even though they found nothing particularly funny. They continued to laugh even though there was no point laughing anymore. And that just made them laugh all the harder. I don't know about you. End of the world stories aren't really that scary to me. I think my kind of horror, I think my kind of horror would be like supernatural or true crime, things like that, right? End of the world feels like an escape to me. I mentioned in my first video that I hate the thought of living in inconvenience and I hate having to survive, right? My survival instinct is next to nothing. It is none. I don't have any. If the world were going to shit, I would be the first one out because no, I would not try to survive. I won't. And I will not. You cannot pay me enough to try to survive. I would not force myself to. I would just be gone and be done, right? So, so that I mean, the story was, uh, yeah, but it's not scary since I don't know. It's just end of the world is such a copped out scare tactic or like scare topic to me since personally I don't find it scary if the world is ending. If the world was ending. Okay, next story. Reminisce of Childhood. While most children recall drifting off to the sound of their mobiles and mother's lullabies every night, I remember falling asleep to the sound of the man creeping downstairs from his hiding spot in the attic. That's crazy. I I have a fear of people living in my house that I don't know because that's scary. That's genuinely very scary because your house, your home, supposed to feel like a very safe space for you, but it's not safe anymore if somebody's living in your house and you don't know. Hmm. Hmm. Yep. I told you, two-sentence horror story hit. Like, if they're really good, they hit really, really good. Next story. Bed of Roses. Naya came home to the fragrant smell of roses. It only took a few minutes of investigating to find the source of the smell. My bed was covered in a vibrant crimson color that made my heart skip a beat. It wasn't completely hidden under a layer of rose petals. There was a candle on the dresser, and its light illuminated the message: I am yours, and you are mine. I love you, and I want to do something that will take your breath away. So, like, kill them? Because that takes breath away. It was a very romantic gesture. It would have been more romantic had I not been single for the past 3 years. It would have been romantic had the message not been written in crimson as well. Now I smell that iron odor in every corner of my house, and my heart is beating like it is about to rip out of my chest. I can only wonder what they meant by wanting to do something that would take my breath away. They wanna kill you. Yeah, any story about a stranger breaking into your house or a stranger living in your house or just strangers scares me. I'm scared. I'm fucking scared. I'm scared, okay? But imagine that. Imagine coming home and that on your bed. Rose petals and everything. Okay, I give it to the person that they rose petals, candles. Oh, so sweet, so romantic. Um, but you're about to die, girl. You're about to die. Next story. Faces. A woman berated me on the street today because I was wearing a soldier uniform, screaming, if I remember all the faces of the people I killed, I don't need to remember their faces. I wake up every morning to their pale forms standing over me, riddled with the bullets I shot through them. I mean, if you take lives, it comes back to haunt you. That's just normal. That's just normal. Next story. The stars. I had been wandering around this cave for hours. I had gotten separated from the tour guide and spent the last 4 hours wandering around in the darkness. I had started the tour around 3, which meant, according to my internal clock, that it was around 7 or 8. The sun would be setting and the forest would become just as dark as it was in the cave. I wandered around in the darkness with my hand on the wall of the cave. I was certain that if I stuck to this path, that I would eventually come to the mouth of the cave. After another hour of bumbling around in the darkness, I found my way out of the cave. It was a moonless night, but I could see the stars in the sky. I wept with relief as I looked up at those beacons of light. There were thousands of them up there. I watched in wonder as they winked out of existence only to reappear seconds later. I watched this phenomenon in confusion. It took a few seconds for me to come up with my answer. These weren't stars winking and blinking into and out of existence. They were eyes, and they were drawn closer to me. This is why I don't go into caves, and also this is why I don't go outside. I can't 100% guarantee that I am safer inside, right? In the comfort of my house. But I can guarantee that it is a lot of danger out there. So, if you're going exploring in the cave, in the forest, like this person, you should try your best to stick with the group. Why are you straying off? Like nothing in the cave is so exciting that you have to leave your group to like see it, right? So calm down. Stay with your group. Stay safe. Y'all stay safe to all of the people who are watching who loves nature. I also love nature, but stay safe. Stay safe. Jeez. We look, a lot of things are preventable. You just need to be careful. Be careful. Next story. Living alone. The worst part of living with roommates was hearing them moving around the house at all hours of the night. The worst part of living alone is still hearing those exact same sounds. I would move. I would one, move place, two, get roommates. So now, even if your roommates aren't moving at night and you're hearing all these sounds moving, your brain would be like, oh, you have a roommate. So obviously it's your roommate, right? It's not some crazy thing. See, it helps. But I would move. I would definitely move. hmm Yep. Next story. Rendezvous with God. Atheists, agnostics, and theologians gathered around to debate and quibble over the latest discovery. In the farthest reaches of space, an astronomer had came across a source of pure energy. It resonated on a wavelength that seemed otherworldly. It was far beyond the reaches of human engineering and technology. The astronomer, a devoted believer, wasted no time in gathering up the media and other like minded scientists and declaring that he had discovered the existence of God, the Creator. Atheists called it the inanimate remnants of the Big Bang. Theologians claimed it was the embodiment of God. Agnostics just shrugged their shoulders and asked and claimed, who knows? After days of debate, someone came up with the idea to try and make contact with the entity that was perched on the edge of the universe to get their answer. They would try blasting a wide array of frequencies, languages, and music at it in an effort to make contact. They tried everything. Atheists cursed it and tried to invoke its wrath. Theologists tried praying in an effort to make it respond to their supplications. After exhausting all strategies, a young agnostic man stepped up to the podium. He was well respected on all sides and was probably the best educated and well versed scientist in the group. He addressed the crowd. This is indeed God. We have found the Creator. Atheists were outraged. Theologians were incensed. If this was God, why was it not responding? The agnostic man took a second before saying, it's simple. God is not responding because God no longer cares about us. My religious stance is that I am I believe that there is a higher being. I don't believe there is a specific God per se. I respect all religion, by the way. That's why I think that there is a higher being, there is a higher existence. But I'm not like caged into one specific religion, right? Since there's a lot of religion and I respect all of them. So me saying overall like that is the respect that I'm giving out to the religion. Um, with this being said, it, no, it's not really a horror story. So, anyways, next story, lightning. I was never a fan of the lightning. It came at a random intervals, and I was always worried it would illuminate the room just enough for you to see my face gazing at you through the window. I don't know why that scared me. I don't know why that scared me. Okay, this whole entire time, like all the stories we're reading so far, this one is crazy. This one is crazy. See, this is why I don't look out the windows. And this is why I'm in the closet where there's no window. So, but it still scared me. Next story. Together forever. We made a lot of promises, typically after making love. When we were covered with sweat and spent from our lust, we would whisper sweet nothings. He had wrapped his arms around me, and I could still feel him inside me. He pulled me close and he said it. Together forever. The car slammed into a tree and pitched me forward. Okay, damn. They were doing it and now they're crashing. He was stopped from joining me by the steering wheel. I rolled through the woods, a whirling dervish of bruises, broken bones, and blood. I passed out, and when I awoke, I was alone. The ambulance must have not seen me and left me behind. I hobbled home, my bones sucking and popping lewdly out of my wound. It took a few days, but I finally reached him. He was heavily medicated. He looked shocked to see me. Yeah, because you're probably a zombie, okay? It was my appearance that was so profoundly impacted him. My blood had con- my my blood had congealed, con- congealed. My blood had congealed on my molded gray skin. The wounds where my bones broke through had begun to rot. A day of traveling in the hot sun had already made me blowed up with gases from decomposition, and I looked almost pregnant. I was rotting from the inside out. He was still under the influence of his medication, but that would wear off. I sat down next to him and ran my petricent, pu- putrescent, 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 putrescent. I sat down next to him and ran my putrescent and cold hand over his head. He stiffened as I leaned in close. My words rattled through my broken teeth into his ear. Together forever. This is why you don't make promises. Yeah, this is why you don't make promises that you can't keep. Because once you meet somebody who can match your crazy, or even crazier than you are, this happens. Yeah. She comes back. This happens. Yeah. They come back for you. They always do. They always come back. Next story. Notes. I'm leaving you and I'm taking our child with me. That was my wife's suicide note. Okay. Ma'am, if you're gonna yourself, there's no reason to involve other people, especially children. Yeah. Next story. Landlines. Carrie always loved Sundays. Her parents would go out to run errands, leaving her to call her boyfriend. Her parents didn't know about him. As an only child, her parents were overprotective and prohibited her from dating until she was 15. She, of course, decided to keep Josh's existence hidden from them. This didn't matter. She loved him. She loved talking to him. His voice set her heart aflutter. Sunday was the only time she could call him and not have to be worried about being caught. It became a ritual for them. Every Sunday, she would call and they would talk until her parents got home. There was one blemish in this otherwise perfect scene. Josh's brother was nosy and would always pick up the phone and listen in on their conversation. Carrie could hear his breathing while they talked. He tried to breathe softly, but she could still hear him. This went on for weeks, and slowly Carrie's frustration at the situation grew. Josh ignored it, but after one particular heated conversation, Carrie asked, "Could you tell your brother to buzz off? I can hear him listening in on the other line." Josh's answer was sobering. "We don't have another phone in the house. I thought you said you were certain your parents had gone out to run errands." Carrie listened to the phone click onto the receiver in the kitchen. She had watched her parents leave. Whoever was in the kitchen was not her parents. Once again, another stranger in my house situation that I am not here for. Absolutely not. But then again, I have no survival skills and I don't like to survive. If I was Carrie and the stranger was gonna attack me, then that's just my fate. I'm not gonna fight it. I'm just gonna be like, yep, I deserved it. I deserved it. Next story. Wishes. Billy had made a wish that his grandparent, who'd passed away, could be brought back to life. Bad idea, by the way. Don't bring back the dead. He should have clarified his wish a little more. The man's mouthless screaming coming from the urn in which his ashes reside was unsettling to say the least. See, I told you, don't bring back the dead. Life, you have to die at some point. So if you're gone, you're gone. Okay. Don't hold on. Next story. The glow. Alexei stood on the bridge that overlooked the surrounding area with his mouth agape. He had never seen something so wondrous. Off in the distance glowed an ethereal blue light. It mixed with the dusky twilight and seemed to cast an otherworldly on the area surrounding it. People from all over the town had flocked to this overlook after hearing the news of this oddity. They all stood dumbstruck, bathing in the light that emanated from the landscape that was stretched out before them. Alexei felt a tugging on his pant legs and he looked down to see his youngest, Sergei. He was 6 years old and couldn't get a good look at the radiance. He was begging his father to boost him up so he could get a better view. He obliged with a smile on his face and picked up his son, setting him on his shoulders. The two watched the light awestruck at the inherent beauty of the world. Alexei knew that if he lived to be 1,000 years old, he would not see another sight that rivaled the beauty of the bluish light intermingling in the Pripyat sky. It was April 26, 1986, and Chernobyl just suffered a catastrophic failure at its nuclear power plant. Within a month, anyone who went to watch that glow wither away and died from acute radiation poisoning. See, this is why I stay, once again, this is why I am a homebody and I stay inside. Why can't you watch that from your window? Why do you have to go out and watch it? I get it. Even if you watch it inside and you're within that radius, you're probably not safe anyways. But still, right? You have a chance there. Next story. Thank God for familiar faces. People are always telling me I have one of those familiar faces. I guess that's why the woman in the lineup misidentified her attacker. You're a menace to society. A menace. Next story. Tooth Fairy. Johnny was having a tough time readjusting his life after the move. They had moved after Steve had lost his job. The father knew it was difficult being moved from your home and forced to make new friends in a new school. He had gone through it himself when he was young and he empathized, which was why he decided to do something nice for him. He had just lost another one of his baby teeth, and Steve sat down with him and explained how he had talked to the tooth fairy and convinced him to increase the price for teeth to $5, as Johnny had been such a good boy lately. Johnny's eyes lit up the next morning when he found $5 under his bed. He excitedly talked about buying a new Game Boy so he could play Pokemon with his friends. Steve told him that $5 would not be enough. He had meant to discourage him. He planned on giving his son a Game Boy in a few months when his birthday rolled around. Johnny stuck out his lips and pouted. It was tough seeing him like that. But he didn't have the money for the system yet. Johnny, however, wanted now, and he had a plan. I know what plan he's planning. Steve woke up to a horrible scene the next morning. Johnny was at the kitchen table with pillars in his hand. Blood stained his mouth and the front of his shirt. In front of him were 6 tiny teeth. Steve could only watch in shock as his son angled the pillars back towards his mouth and bubbled through the blood. "Just 2 more and I'll have enough." This story was a little bit predictable, but still a good little read regardless. Next story. Wishes Revisited. Billy wished on the shooting star that he wouldn't have to go to school ever again. The meteorite granted his wish by smashing into him from orbit. Imagine you're wishing and then the next second, well, if a meteorite hit you directly, I don't think you have a second to react. I think you're already gone by then. Damn. Well, I mean, it came true. He don't gotta go to school now, so it worked. Next story. You tried. You tried to ignore him, but he kept talking. He had been leaning up against the wall to prevent falling over when you walked by him. You tried to convince yourself that he didn't know what he was saying or who he was saying to, but he kept insulting you. You tried to control your temper, but your patience began to wear thin. You tried to imagine what you could do to him. He was drunk and he wouldn't be able to defend himself. You could easily overpower him and pin him to the ground while punching, gouging, and biting at his exposed flesh. Well, calm down. Chill out. What are you, an animal? He would scream as you hooked your finger into the orbit, obliterating his eye while you sank your teeth into his cheek and tore his flesh free. You tried to quell those thoughts. They wouldn't get you anywhere, and when it was all said and done, he'll still be bothering you. You tried to cross the street, but he followed you. He didn't like being ignored, and now he wanted an apology from you for treating him like he wasn't there, like he wasn't a human being. You tried to lose him by ducking into an alley, but he drunkenly shambled after you. You tried to tell him yourself that you were attempting to get away and weren't actually luring him away from prying eyes. You lost it when he caught up to you and shoved you. You tried to stop yourself. You really did. You tried. I think that's a valid crash out. I think bothering people in public is weird, and you shouldn't do that. Bothering people in general is weird, and you shouldn't be doing that. Like, did you ask for consent? You know. So valid crash out, and like they said, they tried. They tried to stay calm. They tried to get away. They tried whatever they could, but the person keep following them, so they took measure into their own hands, and that's that. Valid. Makes sense to me. Makes sense to me. Next story. Dunwhich. As Maria cradled her child in her arms and looked at his three-lobed, multicolored iris, complete with a nictitating membrane, she knew that he took more after his father than after her. I feel like I need to understand the imagery here in order to see the scare. So if any one of you guys understand the imagery here, feel free to comment below and kind of like describe that. Next story. He is a monster. I know he is watching. He always admires his handiwork after situations like this. I stand over the recently killed corpse of the dog with tears carving a path down my face. He has done this. He loves engineering these situations. He feeds off the emotion and trauma. It is entertainment to him. He is a monster. I know he is watching as I struggle to dig a hole in the sand for the feral dog. It's difficult work with only one hand, but that's all I have. He has taken everything else from me. He robbed me of my home, tore me from the arms of my lover, and dismembered me. He made me cut off my own hand or leave it to rot and render me septic. Despite all this, I know I will survive. I will persevere the injustice he visits upon me. I wish I could say that it's my desire to survive that drives me forward, but it's not. He goads me on. He wants me to reach the perfect end, his ideal ending. We have souls. We feel everything. He's a monster. Travis sat back and rubbed at his stubble. The story had a good premise, but it faltered at the conclusion. It really could use more of an emotional impact. Maybe the next draft would turn out better. He stretched and began to think of other ways to make the story more emotional and visceral. He sat back down and continued typing. Okay, Travis. 8 with that. That's the thing about being a writer is you write a lot of unhinged things, and it's like part of the creativity, right? Like it's you imagine it, you create it. As a low-key writer myself, I said low-key because I write whenever I feel like it, not like I have like a great passion for it, right? Writing is like an escape for me. So when I feel like it, I would write. And I've written a lot of unhinged things. So yeah. Travis, you ate. Next story. Monsters. Tucking my son in for the night, he asked me if monsters were real. I lied and told him that they weren't. I spent the rest of the night crying and rubbing the 6-digit tattoo along my forearm, fearing the day that I have to tell him about the story behind it. Here's another question. Would you lie to your kids for the benefit of protecting them? I feel like yes, there are things where kids don't need to know. But at the same time, it's like you can always tell them in a very soft way, right? There's ways to explain things to kids that they can somewhat understand. So should you lie to your kids? I don't know. You tell me. Next story. A goodbye letter. I'm sorry that I have to write this out instead of telling you myself. But after reading this letter, I hope you understand why I'm doing this. We've been together for a long time, but given what's been happening lately, I'm not too sure I can stick around for much longer. You've changed. I mean that sincerely. When we started out, you were innocent. You were naive. Not in a bad sense. Your naivety showed potential. You could be anything. You had promise. You wanted to become something amazing. Instead of that, I could only watch in horror as you slowly devolved. It started off innocently enough. You showed disregard for animals around you. Sound like a serial killer in making. At first, I thought that was the tick of your personality, but it grew into something much worse. Your cruelty expanded to those around you. You quickly displayed an utter discontempt for people around you. It was almost as if they meant nothing to you. I think that disturbed me the most. To be honest, that's not why I'm leaving. The fact that you followed a path I didn't like wasn't the trigger. The reason why I'm leaving is because the way you are going down is dark and cruel, and you haven't reached the end. With your potential to change and grow, I'm scared for you. I don't know how deep your capacity for cruelty is, and I don't want to know if it extends to me. I'm scared of you. If you're in any type of relationship and you feel like you're in danger, it is okay to leave, especially when you can't change it or can't control it. It's okay to kind of step away and let that go. Next story. Jolene. When I heard him whimper her name in his sleep, I couldn't take it anymore. I made sure he'd never be able to make love to her again with my pocket knife. How was I supposed to know that Jolene was the name of his sister who died in an accident back when he was still a child? So you killed that person. So you killed him without finding out who Jolene was? I think you're a little bit impulsive. Like, I get it, paranoid that he's cheating or is like an ex or something, but shouldn't you find out about it first before taking action? Anyways, next story. Words, words, words. I have to take this nice and slow. I have to choose my words carefully. I don't want to make this worse for me. Something's happened this past week to the way we talk. I don't know what's causing it or how it's happening. I only know that it's killing people. Innocuous phrases, figures of speech, colloquialisms, and hyperboles are becoming literal with disastrous results. Most people have stopped talking, but that approach is not helping anymore. The first victim was Old Man Gnome. He always was a talker. He loved to ramble on with old stories and local urban legends to anyone who would listen. It was when he started a conversation with a college student who was too nice to walk away that it happened. Norm was rambling on about the time he found the Jersey Devil in his backyard. At the crescendo of his long winded story, he said those faithful words. He said that he was beside himself with shock at finding the legendary cryptid in Spokane when it happened. Gnome screamed in agony as he was attacked by some invisible force and ripped in two. The student could only watch in horror as the bisected man clutched desperately at his severed lower half while he bled out as if he could reattach himself. The people who witnessed Gnome's death called the police, who promptly took the student into custody so he could be interrogated for the possible murder. They changed the boy out of his blood-stained clothes and gave him a gray prison jumper. They interrogated him for 5 hours before the stress, lights, and questions broke him. In his frustration, he said something about how the uncomfortable jumper was killing him. The jumper then constricted tight around him. He flailed around the room trying to tear the attacking clothes off, but they were too tight and coiled around him. The police officers could only watch as the jumper shrunk to the point of crushing his bones and organs until the student died. When they cut the clothes off of him to try and make sense of what had happened, they found that the seams of the prison jumper had actually cut into him. bruised him in places, and completely compressed his lungs into a pulpy mess. It didn't take long for people to make the connection between the words and the results. Many stopped talking, but a few spoke out on how to protect yourself from this phenomenon. They explained that it only affects the speaker. You can't kill other people with your words except in certain situations. For example, one woman joked with a friend that she always assumed she would go out with a bang. The resulting explosion killed four, crippled one, and severely burned five people. Your words will always be turned against you. One man boasted that he wanted to die, drowning in pussy, and found himself swarmed and smothered by a horde of oddly clingy cats. It got worse. It's no longer restricted to spoken word. It's spread onto written messages. I was texting with a friend, trying to understand what was happening when he, always a defeatist, said he was screwed 6 ways to Sunday due to his tendency to talk. From what I hear, he died of severe exhaustion, dehydration, and physical shock after removing his genitals with a pair of scissors and using them on himself. Soon it was spread to our thoughts, and then we're all dead. I'm writing this because I am dying, slower than the others, but dying nonetheless. I just wanted to end in the nicest way possible. I said I wanted to die with a smile on my face. I thought that would be harmless, dying happy. It didn't work. Please let me die. My face is paralyzed in a grin. I can't eat. I can't talk. I can't even scream in agony at this perpetual smile burning my muscles. I just want this to end. My cat. Look, it's my cat. See meow. Okay, get out. Me being a certified yapper. Am I even a yapper? I only yap to certain people in my life, otherwise I'm very quiet. So am I a yapper? Or am I just comfortable with people? So then I start talking more. I don't know. To be honest, that was a pretty good story. That was probably the longest one that I've read, or the longest one on this site, and also the last one. No wonder why it's long, and it's actually written pretty well compared to all the other ones that I was reading. A lot of the stories this week, or in this site, are, I would say, pretty realistic horrors, which great. I personally really like realistic horrors because they're realistic, and the more realistic they are, the more easily scared I am because it actually could happen, right? Like the lightning one. Like I'm still low key traumatized with the lightning one, but like I know that I don't ever pull my curtains back or have the window shown where I can like look outside, but I'm still scared of it. So I just feel like the way it was delivering, like, oh, but the way I was reading it, and my eyes was like reading way faster than my mouth could pronounce the words, and and I scared myself way before I finished. So the lighting was pretty good. The last one was pretty good. The last one was very well written. If I'm, this is like I'm reading a novel. If I'm reading like a horror novel or a dystopian novel or some type of novel, I would like it to be written like how the last story was. It was pretty good. It wasn't scary, but if the feeling is there, the feeling of suddenly whatever you say affects you, so you can't really be saying anything. I feel like there's like a little bit of double meaning there, or like a little lesson behind that. But then that's just me overthinking, right? But yeah, really good. Anyways, of course, I will be linking the site down in the description below so you guys can, read along or reread it, since I did mispronounce a lot of words. Haven't noticed I do struggle with pronouncing some words just because of it it creates like a tongue twisting moment for me, so then I have to like kind of like really focus in order to pronounce it correctly or semi correctly, right? Or semi correctly. See, that's what I'm saying. Or semi correctly, right? So yeah. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this week video. I am still very proud that I managed to figure out the camera situation. Hopefully the audio is going through really well once again. And I obviously in the future would want to kind of like rest, like I just want to lay like this because my back is hurting. But I'm scared that I'm laying like this. The video isn't focusing and it goes blurry again. But we have to see that if it's blurry or not. So, well, I'll work something out. I'll figure out something. So thank you for stopping by and hopefully I'll see you guys again next week. Bye.